speak their minds and stick to their guns. But as senator, all Jim Sasser has done is flip-flop. He promised to vote against Senate salary increases. Then 29 days after taking office, he voted for the biggest pay raise in history. On votes to balance the budget, he voted no 11 times. 3 times yes. On spending taxpayers' money for abortion, 29 times he voted yes. 6 times no. When it comes to making up his mind, flipping Jimmy Sasser is a flop.
And of course, the ultimate flip-flop involves the case of Bruzzy Wilders.
I used to work here, along with a lot of other people. Nearly a year ago, they closed the plant for good. I'm one of the millions of people in this country who have lost their jobs, and we've got something to say to the Democrats. You've been running Congress, you've been running the economy, so we've got just one question. If the Democrats are good for working people, how come so many people aren't working?
Let's get America working again. Vote Republican for a change.
2 years later, Bruzzy made this spot.
Remember me? In 1980, the Republicans paid me to go on television because they promised us they would make things better. And I believed them. Well, since they've been in control, unemployment is the highest since the Great Depression, and businesses are closing down every day. Millions of Americans are without jobs, and we've got to do something. I'm a Democrat, but I voted Republican once. It's a mistake I'll never make again, and I didn't get paid to say that.
Back in 1952, the Democrats spent a grand total of $77,000 on broadcasting messages for Stevenson. By the 1964 election, the Democrats were spending $4.5 million to finance broadcast advertising. And it's been growing by leaps and bounds ever since. Yet for all the money spent, the style of these spots remains pretty much the same. When Senator Joseph McCarthy was leading the anti-communist vendetta, he used many different tactics against his victims, and one of them is still in vogue today.
Guilt by association.
This is a photograph of Governor Pat Brown. It is a pictorial forgery and is the admitted work of the Nixon organization. The picture has been deliberately doctored. In this Nixon pamphlet, Pat Brown and the CDC, the governor is shown purportedly applauding a statement that he supports admission of Red China to the UN, a position he has always, in fact, opposed. Here is the actual picture. As you can see, the governor was applauding a 12-year-old polio victim standing beside him in braces and on crutches. Another photo hoax appears in this pamphlet, California Dynasty of Communism, which has been circulated by Nixon workers. Here you see the governor apparently bowing subserviently to Nikita Khrushchev, pictured opposite. Now, where did they get this picture? It was cut out of a news photo of Governor and Mrs. Brown greeting a Laotian minstrel girl on an officially sponsored goodwill mission. Another case of deliberate doctoring. Repudiate these dishonest attacks on the Democratic Party and your leaders, and re-elect Pat Brown.
In 1976, Jimmy Carter said, "Why not the best? Let's look at what he gave us." Andrew Young, Carter's UN ambassador, who called Iran's Ayatollah Khomeini a saint, forced to resign after lying to the president. Burt Lance, also forced to resign. Dr. Peter Bourne, the Carter drug expert, forced to resign after supplying drugs to a White House staffer. And the list goes on. If you want a president whose judgment you can trust for a change, then vote for Ronald Reagan for president.
Let's look at the record of Lyndon Johnson. He was Bobby Baker's best friend. LBJ once said, "Bobby Baker is my strong right arm, the last man I see at night and the first one in the morning." Billy Sol Estes and his connections in high places. A television monopoly forced on the people of Austin. A $14 million personal fortune gained on an average government salary of $14,000 a year. Honestly, it just doesn't add up.
Gee, Dad, is all that true?
Yes, son, every bit of it.
Will you and Mother vote for a man like that?
We won't. We can't, for your sake.
I want to tell you something else. You know, I'm running against an actor. Remember this. You know who shot Abraham Lincoln, don't you?
Those guys get a lot of punches below the belt. I don't actually know if I could stand that kind of punishment. Then don't run for office. You mean you make a spot to use against me, your own brother? You bet. You know, celebrities are always being asked to endorse or speak against the candidate. You know that. Yeah, but against your own flesh and blood. I mean, it would be for the good of the country. Good. Go ahead and bury me.
Star spots.
courage, endurance, leadership. John F. Kennedy has them all the way, and the way has been the hard way. As president, John F. Kennedy will have the courage to meet the greatest challenge our country has ever faced.
There is an alternative. Vote for Jesse Jackson. Come alive June 5. Vote for Jesse Jackson.
I want to make it very clear, Harry, that on this question of equality of opportunity for all Americans, whether it's in the field of civil rights, better minimum wages, better housing, better working conditions, jobs, I stand for these things.
I'm voting for this, Senator. How about you?
Let's get a real leader and not a power politician in the White House. Vote for Barry Goldwater.
¿Por qué no me acompañan y voten por Presidente Ford?
I urge you to vote for Ronald Reagan November 8th.
Pat Paulson for president.
Remember Raymond Massey as Abraham Lincoln in the movie and as Dr. Gillespie on TV's Dr. Kildare? He was the ultimate authority figure. He was even a little scary sometimes. Right. He used all that authority very effectively in 1964.
I'm Raymond Massey, and this is what really gets me. This is a picture of a dead American soldier shot by the Viet Cong guerrilla in Vietnam. What's our government doing about it? And the 275 other dead Americans? Nothing, not a thing, because we are fighting a no-win war in Vietnam, a war we don't want to win. Well, as an American, I don't like it. I don't like our policy, and I don't like no-win wars, especially wars our men are getting butchered in. Don't you want to stop this war? Don't you care about what's happening over there? Well, I care a lot. That's why I'm voting for Barry Goldwater. Barry Goldwater doesn't want to fight wars. Barry Goldwater wants to put a stop to that mess in Vietnam. That mess that's killing our men. That mess that's costing us $1 million a day. I'm going to vote for Barry Goldwater, and I urge you to do the same. Vote for a real American. Vote for Barry Goldwater. In your heart, you know he's right.
Back in 1933, another movie star made a pitch for FDR's recovery program. Only this one wasn't a flesh and blood star. His name was Oswald Rabbit. It was 50 years ago. FDR was president as the Great Depression had the world by the throat. The country was scared. Bread lines, massive unemployment, banks collapsed, fear gripped the nation. FDR said, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself."
Doctor! 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 Doctor!
There's your doctor.
Mr. President, what will cure a depression?
Confidence! And lick this old depression. Confidence! And wear the right expression. Smile, grin, laugh right out loud. And watch the golden sunshine gather every cloud. Confidence! Hey, hey, it's our salvation. Confidence! The hope of our great nation. Teach it, preach it, shout it, shout it. Confidence! Just have confidence.
What a great spot. And it illustrates another important advertising technique. What's that, Tommy? Well, always try to provide a simple answer to a tough problem and reinforce it with stereotypes everyone will understand. You know, that's right. I'm very impressed by your knowledge of these advertising techniques. You know, you're not as dumb as I thought.
Off the wall!
Maybe I ain't that smart, but when Judge Hollenbach tells me he cut my taxes, he don't credit me with as much horse sense as Nell has. And since he's been judged, the taxes of my house are nearly 50% higher. Who does he think he's kidding? Maybe Judge Hollenbach should have my job. Was it my business? I deal with that kind of stuff every day.